Chapter 5 is going to concern us with decimals. 5.1, we're just going to talk about the decimal notation and rounding. We'll get to the operations in later sections. So let's talk about how you write decimals. Decimals are made up of a whole number part sometimes, the decimal point, and the decimal part or the fractional part of the number. Here's the decimal point, and we know to the left the whole number parts. The ones, the tens, the hundreds, the thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s, millions. To the right of the decimal point, we see a reflection of that. We don't have any ones parts because we can't divide anything further than just the one part it's already in. So we start with the tenths, then the hundredths, then the thousands, then the 10,000s, then the 100,000s, and then the millions. These decimal places all end in TH, as you can see, and that's how we know the difference between the tens place and the tenths place, which is on the fractional part of our place values. So if we're going to write or read a decimal in words, we're going to write or read the whole number part in words. Then we're going to write or read the and, which is the decimal point. And then we'll read or write the decimal part in words as though it were a whole number, followed by the place value of that last digit. So we look at our examples here. We have 3 and the decimal point. So we're going to start with the whole number part, which is 3. The decimal point is read as and now we're going to read this decimal part as if it were a whole number, which is 5. And then we're going to name this last place. So we have to know these: tenths, hundredths, thousandths. And you know we have the THS to denote that that's on that side of the decimal point. The next one, the whole number part, is 100. Then we have the decimal point, which is and. The only place you'll find this correctly in a number is to represent the decimal point. Then we're going to read this decimal part as a whole number, which is 1, and name this last place tenths, hundredths. 100 with THS on the end of it. Or actually, it'd just be 100th. Now let's look at the next one. We have 12. The decimal point is read as and then we're going to read this number, which is 90. And we'll name this last place tenths, hundredths. THS. I want to be sure that that's there. Okay, this next one, we have the whole number 5, the decimal point, which is and we're going to read this number 124. And then we're going to name that last place tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000s, 100,000s. 100 thousandths. Notice the TH on the end of that. Now we're going to go the other way. We have it written in words and we're going to write it as a numeral. 6 and we know that that is the decimal point. 200ths. So we're going to have 2 places, tenths, hundredths, and we're going to have 2. So we'll have to fill that in with a 0. Otherwise, it'd be 2 tenths. 19 and, it's a decimal point, 15 10,000ths. Tenths, hundredths, thousands, 10,000ths. And we want 15. And we'll fill those in with zeros. 100 and, it's the decimal point, 105 thousandths, tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and we want 105 and end in the thousandths place. The next thing we're going to look at is writing decimals as fractions. The only difference between decimals and fractions is in decimals we only use certain denominators: 10, 100, 1,000, 10,000, 100,000. So when we look at this number, we know that that's 4/10, and that's 4/10 as a fraction. Now we'll simplify it. We read it, we wrote it as a fraction, and now we're going to reduce it or simplify it. We can divide both numerator and denominator by 2. And 4/10 is the same as 2/5. So let's read the next one. 1 and 25 hundredths, tenths, hundredths. And we can simplify this fraction by dividing the numerator and denominator both by 25. And we end up with 1 and 1/4. This next one, we have 3 and 25 what? Tenths, hundredths, thousandths. So we're just reading it, then we're writing it. In this case, it's a mixed number because we have a whole number part. And now we'll simplify this. We can divide the top and the bottom by 25. And we end up with 3 and 1/40. This last one we don't have, it's not a mixed number because it's less than 1. So we'll read it, 58 hundredths, 58 hundredths, and now we'll divide by 2, top and bottom, and we get 29/50. So 58 hundredths is the same as 29/50. 58 hundredths is 58 hundredths. So we read it, we wrote it as a fraction, and now we've simplified it or reduced it. Those are the 3 R's. Read it, write it, reduce it. Now we're going to put these numbers in order. So what I like to do is to line these up so that the places are aligned, which means the decimal points will be aligned. Now, sometimes it just makes you feel better if you fill that empty place in with a 0. And now it's pretty easy to see that 70 hundredths would be greater than 68 hundredths. But what we're technically going to do is begin comparing the places, beginning with the most powerful place. The ones place is the same, but the tenths place is not. This is the greater of the two. 7's greater than 6. So 7/10 is greater than 68 hundredths, or 68 hundredths is less than 7/10. Okay, let's line these next ones up. And again, I'm just going to fill this in. You don't have to do that, but somehow it makes it all more even, top and bottom. So I'm going to start comparing. Ones are the same, tenths are the same, hundreds are the same. But when I get to thousandths, the 2 is greater than the 1. So this number is greater than this number. We'll do it again. We have the same number of digits in each one, so we're good. So we're going to start comparing. Ones, tenths, but when we get to the hundredths, this is the big one. And finally, we're comparing these two. And you might not have to go through all these steps. You might be able just to look at it, but, I always like to be sure. So the hundreds is the same, the tens is the same, the ones is the same, but when I get to the tenths, this is the bigger one. Now we're going to be comparing negative decimals, and we know what happens on the number line. To the right of 0, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and as these digits get bigger, the numbers are bigger. But on the left, that's not the way it is. -4 is less than -1, even though 4 is greater than 1. When we get on the negative side, as these numbers increase, the absolute value increases, the value of the number decreases. So we have to put our thinking caps on backwards. So I'm going to compare these, and I like to write them on top of each other. I'm lining up the decimal points, and sometimes this helps us. So our thinking caps are on backwards because they're both negative. Those are the same. These are not. 2 is bigger than 0, but since I have my backwards thinking cap on, this is going to be the greater one. It's going to be to the right of this one. So let's look over here at this one. Again, I like to just fill those in. Okay, the ones place is the same, but the tenths is not. The 3 is the biggest, so since we're working with negatives, this is the greater. It's going to be to the right on the number line of this one. Here we go. And ones is the same, tenths is the same, hundreds is the same, thousands, 10,000s, 100,000s. They are actually equal. And this one, again, I'm going to fill in the empty place, and I'm going to start comparing. Same, 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 same. But when I get to this place over here, the 10,000s place, 1 is bigger than 0, but I'm working with negative numbers, so this is going to be the greater. So you just kind of mind over matter when you get to comparing the negatives. Finally, we're going to do some rounding, and this works very much in the beginning like when we round whole numbers. When we get to the end, there'll be some things that are different about zeros. So we'll identify the digit one place to the right of the given place value that we're asked to round to. And if that digit is 5 or greater, we're going to add 1 to the given digit. If that digit is less than 5, we're going to leave that digit unchanged. So we'll discard, this is the important part, we're going to discard all the digits to the right of the given digit where we're supposed to round to. In whole numbers, if you end up with 200, you need these zeros or it's not going to be 200. In decimals, when you're rounding, you're going to discard anything extra. So that's the thing to really watch for. So if we're going to round this to the nearest thousands place, let's locate that, tenths, hundredths, thousands. We're going to look at our next door neighbor and it's just a 4. So that means we're going to discard those 2. So rounded to the nearest thousands, it's 4 815 thousandths. We don't want any zeros on the end because we want this to end, the last place be the thousands place. So now we're going to round this to the nearest hundredths place. So we'll look at the neighbor and it says go up, it's 9, it's more than 5. So after 99 would be 100. So this is going to round to 53 and no hundredths. If we don't have these zeros, then it would not be rounded to the nearest hundredths. If you wrote this, someone that looked at this would think you rounded this to the nearest ones place. But we're told to round to the nearest hundredths place, so you need to show that it rounds to no hundredths, no tenths. Okay, we're going to round this to the hundredths place. So we look at the neighbor, which is a 2, which means we're going to discard this. 45 and 37 hundredths. Now we're going to round this number to the thousands place, tenths, hundredths, thousands. This is why it's so important that you know these place names. So if you don't, that's a good thing for you to learn. So we're looking at the next place, it's a 6, so we're going to go up. Instead of 999, we're going to have 1,000. So it's going to round to 135 and no thousands. We'll need those zeros on there to show our reader that we've rounded to the nearest thousandth. This is much more exact than if we wrote this, because this could be this rounded to that. You know, it could be 134 and 6/10, and it would round to 135. But we want to show that we don't have any tenths or hundredths or thousandths. So this is very exact. Now we're going to round this number to the nearest tenths place. So we'll look at the 9. It says go up. So instead of 14 and 7/10, it's going to be 14 and 8/10. This is going to be the last place that shows. Now we're going to round this to the hundredths place, and we have a 5. And that 5 says go up, so it's going to be 14 and 80 hundredths. Next, we're rounding this to the hundredths place, so we'll look at the 4, and it says discard all of this. So we have 187 and 26 hundredths. And our last one, we're going to round this to the nearest 10,000ths place. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10,000ths. We're looking at the 8, and it says go up. So we're going to have 187 and 2,650. Is that the next one up? From 49, we're going to go up to 50.